Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what we can expect moving into the rest of this week. And it's going to be the end of the month, of course. So we'll go over all that, my thoughts moving into July. And yeah, as usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. Again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions, do your own research. And my membership section is down below, $2.99 a month. You get access to my thoughts I post throughout the day as Tesla's moving that I think are worth sharing. And I'm pretty much going to be covering these in the video today. So all that being said, don't forget to hit that like. Let's go. Let's do it. So Tesla up 2.5%, almost up, putting us at rather $256.37 compared to the market, a respectable outperformance. Now, what does this mean, right? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this topping? Are we not topping? Are we going down? Are we going up? So you can see today was a a lot of indecision. Nice little rally to start off the day. I think this was today, right? Yeah. Nice little rally to start off the day. And then we pretty much just went completely sideways ever since. Just a huge battle, just up and down, just wicks left and right. And I would say no one really won in this area, but obviously the Bulls did win in the morning. So as I said yesterday, right, 250 was a major level for me to see not break above, for the Bears at least. And if we do go above, we get a further move to the upside. That's exactly what we got. We went up all the way as high as 260. So I talked about this over here, but my main levels that I'm looking at right now for Tesla are 260s, number one, which we got rejected at, and then 265 is the most important level for me because that is the level that we did get massively rejected a few times here, and then we've had pretty massive moves to the downside every time we got rejected. We came down, got rejected, massive move, which got bottomed up, got rejected again, and then we pretty much massive move down once again, right? So 265 is not only important just for that level. However, also it's important to potentially reverse the current bearish trend because Tesla is in a very short-term bearish trend, right? And that's quite simply because it is setting lower lows, lower highs, right? Ever since this move here, we set a low, then we set a lower high, a lower low, and now we're potentially setting a lower low somewhere around this kind of rough area that we're at right now again. But if we go above 265, we officially set a higher high, which then in theory breaks this downward trend. So that's number one. You can also talk about it being broken, the downward trend, with this obvious these two blue lines I have right here, which is kind of the channel that we are in right now, which you can easily argue is just nothing more than a massive bull flag ever since this move. So from this move down here, massive rally upwards. Now we're setting a bull flag, which I don't think is done yet. So I do think we'll come down one more time to test the bottom of this bull flag channel one more time, which will pretty much put us around 230, just below the gap fill in my opinion. And I think from there, assuming, of course, nothing goes badly, maybe with the deliveries over the weekend, this weekend, of course, right? I think we should break out and then ultimately play out this bull flag and probably make our way closer to like 280, maybe even as high as $300 per share. So that's kind of what I am seeing overall, right? But let's talk about it a little bit more, shorter term, I guess, if you will. So again, if Tesla ever breaks above out of this little channel right here, then of course 250 or 260 followed by 265 will be the next levels I'll be paying attention to. But as long as it's in this channel, in my opinion, it's still technically bearish, and as long as it's below 265, technically still bearish in my opinion. But it is starting to look like it wants to really reverse this trend if it does break out of this, right? The second thing is we talked about that what's it called, the head and shoulders, which was this right here, right? Or something like this, give or take. It is now, in my opinion, invalidated, right? And the reason it's invalidated is because Tesla broke back into the neckline, which was about 250, which is why that level was so important to me. But because it broke back into that neckline, and especially even 254, right? But because it broke past those levels now and it's sitting all the way up here, to me, that head and shoulders, which is a bearish pattern, is invalidated. However, and I did talk about this in my section right here, or my membership section right here, I do see one more bearish, pretty major bearish pattern that I personally like actually a lot, still potentially acting up. So before I get into that though, the one thing that you want to pay attention to is the Fibonacci, right? So ever since we obviously got rejected from all the way here and started making our correction, you can see if we go from the Fibonacci from that swing high to this swing low so far, as it seems, you can see we did come up exactly to that 0.5 level, which is just shy of $260 per share. And we have been getting rejected at this level, right? So it kind of matches with this overall break level that we need for this channel, right? Which is pretty much around 258-ish, give or take right now. 258 to 260 right now is very, very important, right? Again, breaking out of this channel and also breaking above the 0.5. But the reason I bring up the 0.5 is because whenever you have these massive moves like this, and then you get a bit of a correction, dead cat bounce, whatever you want to call it. So we're essentially doing a small correction in this major correction, right? This is the correction. Now we're doing a smaller correction inside of that to kind of, it can't just keep going down, right? You need some bounces just as you can't keep going up, right? And that's essentially what's happening here. And usually when you get these kind of corrections, if you will, the 0.5 level is a very, powerful level to come up to, or in this case, to come up to follow, to get rejected at, and then continue that move back to that same direction, in this case, to the downside. So as long as we're still also getting rejected by that 0.5 level, to me, all this means is that this was a nice little dead cat bounce. And now in theory, we should be continuing making our way down even further, probably starting tomorrow, if not latest, in my opinion, Friday. So that's the way I'm looking at it right now, right? Very important as well. And the final thing to note, the major thing to note is, like I said, head and shoulders invalidated. However, the cup and handle pattern is very much not invalidated. So for now, I'll delete these channels just for now. All right, we'll put them back after, just so I can more obviously show you guys this pattern, right? But something like this, right? So we have the cup, I mean, you know, something like this, right? So you have the cup right there, roughly, right? And then you have, of course, the handle being formed, right? Which is essentially, let me go ahead and do this. Something like that, and then something like this, right? Just a rough example, of course, but you know, roughly this is kind of the handle right now that's being formed, and you can see it's getting very close to potentially breaking down below it, right? Barely hanging on. This is a bearish pattern, right? This is the cup and handle pattern. It's a bearish pattern, and we're essentially doing the dead cat bounce. The flipped version of this is, of course, this is the inverted version. The bullish version would be something, I think Tesla actually did do it over here. Yeah, you can kind of make an argument that this was sort of a cup and handle right here-ish, and then we had a massive, sort of. But essentially the way it looks is it's literally the flip version, right? So again, I'll just draw it like this, right? You have like a move like this, and then you have the handle forming like this, and then you kind of zigzag in between it, like a bull flag, and then you break out and you move up, right? So essentially the way you look at it is from the bottom of the cup to the top of the cup, which ends up also kind of being the neckline. It ends up being a bull flag, essentially. So you essentially rally from here up here, you create a bull flag, then you zigzag down into it like this, which is kind of what we're doing, just the opposite. And then you eventually break out of it and then continue upwards. So you continue that same direction. Obviously not always, but more often than not, right? That's why the patterns are, well, that's why they're patterns, right? Because that's usually what happens, but not always, again, right? And that's essentially what we're seeing here. Let's go back to the 1 hour chart. You can see, right? Nice little curvature over here, forming the cup, right? And then, of course, now we're having the dead cat bounce. In this case, of course, being the handle. And then usually if you break down below it, that's usually when that move gets confirmed. And the way you usually measure the distance is you go from the bottom of the cup. So in this case, it'll be pretty much right around this general area right here to the neckline of the cup, right? So that's kind of the distance overall. Then you take that, and then from the part that it breaks out of on the handle, you measure. So somewhere, for instance, around here, right? Assuming we break out somewhere around here tomorrow, you can see it comes down to pretty much right around that 230-ish level, roughly, as low as 225, right? So that's kind of the level I am personally eyeballing right now. Obviously, maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, who knows for sure, but very important to kind of keep that in mind as well. At least that's what I'm doing, right? So those are the main things I'm eyeballing right now, right? By far, the absolute most important things I am personally eyeballing right now. Very, very crucial. Let me go ahead and put this back the way it was. Something like this, I believe it was, right? Boom, right? And that's kind of what I am personally eyeballing right now, and I think is looking, like it's going to happen for Tesla. So until one of these situations breaks, I personally, again, like I said, think Tesla is in a correction phase still. I don't think it's finished correcting, and I do think that there is a decent chance that it comes back down to the bottom of this channel, somewhere around here, one more time, around 230, give or take, just past the gap fill, and yeah. Remember back when we were still somewhere up here and I talked about how, this gap, obviously everyone's eyeballing it. Like everyone is eyeballing it to get filled. And, I wouldn't be surprised if also we would do a little bit of a premature fill. Well, we kind of did that right now, right? We entered a bit of a premature fill. Right, came back into it, and then just as we were looking that we were kind of coming down to actually fill it, I'm sure everyone was like, yeah, you know what, 234, 235, they gap fill, I'm all in right there, baby, I'm all in. And then instead what we got was a bounce, right? And a lot of people are probably like, wow, maybe it's not gonna gap fill, maybe some FOMO happening, around this general level. They're thinking, wow, maybe the gap fill won't happen. Everyone was looking at it, there's a whole lot of psychological kind of warfare, if you will, happening as well, right? When everyone is eyeballing this gap fill, it's not really going to happen, right? But maybe once people start thinking that maybe it won't happen, that's when we gap fill. And then once we do get here, people will think we'll bounce from here. Maybe we'll go a little bit lower, like 225. And then everyone will start being like, wow, maybe this is actually not that good. Maybe it's actually bearish. And then they'll exit and then we get a bounce. That's like usually how these stocks usually work, man. It always works against what the populace will, believe will happen. That's just more often than not how it happens, right? And that's just kind of what I am thinking right now, obviously, just, thinking out loud, if you will. But overall, that's kind of what I am foreseeing as of right now. So essentially the cup and handle is what I'm looking at, and this overall downward channel that could essentially be just nothing more than a bull flag or a bull channel as well being formed and most likely continuing to play out. I did sell all my shares for a nice amount of profit. Actually, I'm very happy for this month. Made a lot of money this month, at least, for me, what I consider a lot. I'm very happy with that. And I am completely and utterly back in cash. I did sell today. The rest of my shares, I sold, like I said, like about 35% or so yesterday, and I sold the rest today at 257.5, I think it was, something like that, 257, almost 258. So the way I look at it is if we break out, I'm pretty much rebuying those shares at the exact level I sold them at, and I can play out this breakout. If we continue moving downwards, I'll be obviously buying that dip. So again, that's just my perspective. That's how I look at it. That's how I trade. Works for me. It's very safe. It's a little boring, honestly, but my win rate is extremely high because I really just wait for the situation to come to me, and I'm perfectly okay limiting my profit but substantially increasing my win rate. So I rarely have a losing trade, and if it is a losing trade, it's extremely minimal, and that's the way I like to trade. It works for me. That's just my style. Everyone has their own style, of course. Don't have to follow me, but all in all, that's what I am seeing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. And I think tomorrow will be another telling day to see how this actually plays out. So I'll definitely be eyeballing what I just mentioned as well. So thanks for watching. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.